Yes, this is Congressman Gosar calling in.
Yes, sir. How are you doing?
I am doing good, and you are?
I'm Roger Galloway, and I'm doing fine, too.
Good, Roger. Thank you.
Yes. We're going to talk about, I guess, a number of things that of interest to you that are happening, and I want you to start off to lead the way, and then there's a couple other things I might throw in here as well.
Sounds good, Roger.
All right. Where would you like to go? I know one thing I did notice that you just sent out a statement on the Central Arizona Government's Regional Council voting overwhelmingly to support your Southeast Arizona Land Exchange and Conservation Act.
Absolutely, and I was in attendance for part of that meeting in that discussion process.
What does that mean to us in this area?
Well, it means that, particularly Mojave County, which has a bunch of mining interests and support in mining, that this is another mine getting off the ground that has indirect relationships throughout Arizona, because it brings in over $1 billion a year to our economy of our state. And almost 4,000 jobs. And so what it really starts to do is energize the aspect of mining and getting people back to understanding that, our state, Mojave County, was built upon a lot of mining. And this is an opportunity to get back into a real economy, a diversified economy.
One of the things I wanted to bring up, Congressman, you were in Lake Havasu recently. You were in the area in general. You were listening to a lot of the constituents' concerns. And the thing that pops up over and over and over is on the so-called Obamacare. And you've called it a bad, unconstitutional law. Do you think that the Supreme Court is going to overturn it, or most of it, or parts of it?
Well, I mean, they ruled, last year that it was constitutional, but it was based upon a tax, which was never sold as. And the problem is that there's more and more challenges coming, and we see that coming in, the Medicaid expansion, putting together these exchanges. In fact, this morning they showed that they're now 2 years behind schedule on this, and they have to extend the period to another 2 years. Here's another aspect of uncertainty for businesses, employees, and benefits. So this is going to be problematic for everybody. We needed health care reform. We just didn't need this kind of directive of health care. What we need to do is have a patient-friendly, competitive type of environment for health care reform, and this doesn't suffice for it.
It just seems like it's one of those things was kind of thrown down everybody's throats whether they wanted it or not. And there's so much debate on it, both on the national level, also here as far as the legislature is concerned in Arizona as well. And
well, the good news that people should start to smile about is that at the time Speaker Nancy Pelosi made the comment that you have to pass a law in order to understand what's in the law. And now we realize that the federal employees and members of Congress don't have benefits that starts January 1st of 2014. So they weren't even included in the bill, and there are no benefits with that. So we have to remedy that, and I hope that we can make some serious changes to the law so that it is much more responsive to patients' needs and in the proper direction of health care.
Let me ask you about gun laws. It seems like I'm not certain where we are, where you think we are right now in Washington, but a lot of states are kind of starting to do things on their own. Connecticut is going one way, Georgia's looking at another, Arizona similar to Georgia, etc. What's going to happen there, do you think?
Well, you look at Connecticut. Connecticut had some of the toughest, if not the toughest, gun laws originally before the Connecticut shooting, and so you're making them tougher, and you're still going to have criminals that have access to guns. That this doesn't work, and we need to take the emotion out of the way. It is sad what transpires out of this, and it seems like it gets worse when we have economic conditions that are so poor in this country. People go crazy, and that's not an appropriate process to put people under those kind of strains. What we need to do is we need to have the judicial system actually uphold the rule of law and put, penalties into commissions of crimes when you use a firearm. I know of a case in northern Arizona in which a kid robbed an individual, put a gun to their head, and basically walked away with their hands slapped. You don't do that. That's the moment that we make sure the kids understand the ramifications of doing a wrong process. But we need to have compliance within the judiciary system to make the enforcement of the laws appropriate and not let bad behavior be condoned.
Let me ask you along the same lines. It's something that just happened. This is an article in the Washington Times this morning. The United Nations General Assembly has signed off on a sweeping, first-of-its-kind treaty to regulate the international arms trade, brushing aside worries from U.S. gun rights advocates that the pact could lead to a national firearms registry and disrupt the American gun market. And it requires countries to regulate and control the export of weaponry, such as battle tanks, combat vehicles, and aircraft, attack helicopters, etc., and parts as well as ammunition for weapons. And the Obama administration supported this final treaty draft. The Assembly vote was 154-3.
Well, the thing about it is we are going to constantly come at odds with the United Nations because we will not subjugate our Constitution to what the United Nations has tried to put forward. So this will be a contentious issue all the way across the board, but I don't see, at least my position and those of the Republican House, that we're going to subjugate it all. And America needs to make sure that the Senate upholds that so that there's no ratification of those treaties because, the President cannot do this unilaterally. All treaties have to be go through the process of approval through the Senate. And that's where the American public needs to make sure that their voices are being heard.
As far as you working in Washington right now, you've been at it for a while now, is it improving? Are things getting better as far as trying to accomplish some of the goals that you would like to achieve there, or no?
I do, because I think finally people are realizing that you can't solve problems without having a plan, and the plan is a budget. And so for the first time in 4 years, George, we got a budget, from the Senate. Amazingly, that, a constitutional requirement, we finally get one. Now, is it something that I can buy into? No, but it's something that I can make comparisons and contrasts and start having the discussion with the American people on where our country needs to go in our fiscal responsibility, and then getting the federal government out of the way and allowing people to be part of the solution and getting America back to what it used to be, and that is the world leader in economics and entrepreneurship.
In these last few minutes we have together here, I'm wondering, is there anything on your side that you would like to bring up that we haven't discussed?
Well, one of the things that I'm very tired of is I'm tired of Washington telling Arizona what we can and we cannot do. I'm tired of them putting out programs that are failed and problematic. I want Arizona to start leading. I want us to be at the forefront of these issues of coming up with the ideas and solutions that America goes, wow, Arizona is the leader on those. You may not like some of our questions, but you have to applaud that we're asking questions on hot topics, and we're not afraid to do that. And I think, this comes about for all Arizona citizens. If you got a great idea, an idea that's well thought out, we need to hear about it because we can do this together and we can return this country to its greatness. But it's going to take each one of us to come up with our special gifts and our fortitude to get that accomplished.
Just one other thing I wanted to ask, because it comes up a lot in this community, this subject of Colorado City. Mm-hmm. Is there anything the feds can do other than, we're looking at state legislation, certainly in the county, Mojave County, the Sheriff Tom Sheehan wants to have deputies over there. There's a lot of battles still being fought over that community. Or is it what it is, and we have to kind of live with it?
Well, here's, the problem that you see with federal intervention when it's not appropriate for them to intervene, George, is that you create more problems and overstep jurisdiction. I mean, when you look at some of the big problems with the housing markets, with banks, the response and the problem actually started with the federal government's interaction into an area where they probably shouldn't go. And so you have to be really careful is that do we intervene and do we run the risk of jeopardizing how our forefathers and how local governments should and how they are handling an issue. I think we have to be very, very careful, and I have tried to keep my hands off that as well as some other issues in the state because I believe in states' rights, and I think the leadership and ownership has to be there at the state level.
All right. Thank you, Congressman, very much for calling in. We'd like to do this from time to time when we can. We know you're very busy there. And
I would love to set up something on a regular basis, and we would love to do that, because that's one of the things is we love transparency and telling people what's going on and listening to their questions. That's one of the magical aspects of this job, is actually getting a chance to talk to people and getting their insights, because those are the things that really matter.
All right. I appreciate it very much for taking the time with us. Take care.
Thank you.